Welcome to Makers International, a podcast of makers, connecting with makers from all around the world. Here's your hosts, Jamie Page, Chris Cute, and now, Richard Morley.
So hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good times, whatever time it is and wherever you're listening. Joined me as always, Mr. Chris Cute.
How you doing?
How you doing, Chris? And Mr. Jamie Page.
How you doing?
After 3 weeks away, and I probably should have prepared something a little bit more insulting for Jamie, I feel.
You should have done.
Yeah, nice hat. So that's it. I'm done now. I genuinely have got to read the notes. Normally we used to do the sponsors right at the beginning, didn't we? I'll do them at the beginning of this one, but I'm kind of feeling like we should move them towards some other part, so they're not all just a 20-minute
whatever.
But anyway, as always, tonight's show is brought to you in part by Yorkshire Grit, the Woodturners Bracelet Paste, our good friend Chad over at Mancrafting, Pam at Highland Boxes, and Steve. It is Steve, isn't it? It's not Jamie that does the website. It is Steve.
It's Steve,
Media that sorts out our website. If you want to find out more about our sponsors, how they can help you as well, check our website, and that is makersinternationalpodcast.com/sponsors. We don't have a guest this week. I'm not quite sure what we're actually going to be talking about. I've got a few ideas as to how it might go, because Chris, you did all the prep.
As usual.
Your idea?
As usual.
Always, yeah.
As usual. But we do have a question from our noted. I almost want to call him what's the equal? What do you call what is equal to being an historian? Andy is our questionnaire. So I don't know how that.
The Inquisitor. The Grand Inquisitor of the Internet.
The Grand Inquisitor of the podcast has actually. That's a very noble title, Mr. Pugh.
That's a bit bad. What you need to do.
I can think of a few other names for him.
Jamie, behave. Now, what you need to do, Chris, though, because you need to make it just that little bit grander. It's got to be Inquisitor.
Oh, the Inquisitor.
Grand Inquisitor.
We have a few questions from the Grand Inquisitor of the podcast.
That works.
Yeah, Mr. Pugh. As Jamie likes to say, the Q with Q.
Q with Andy Pugh.
Yeah, we don't need Jamie to have another friggin' theme song, so let's stay away from that. But he does have a question for us this week. But Richard, I'm sorry to say it's directed. I'm afraid totally at you. Because you've been gone for several weeks, and we would like to say we missed you.
But that would be a lie, because I listened to one of the episodes for 8 minutes, and I got to the point where you were basically tearing my reputation apart, casting aspersions on me, and just making stuff up.
Well, Richard, then this question will help you out and help you reassert your nobility amongst the people who actually give a flying. Anyway, yeah, right. Anyway, so Andy's question is the following, and it's directed to you, Mr. Morley.
Okay.
Andy's question is: were there any so-called, and emphasis being on so-called princess accidents this time around, Mr. Morley? Did you have any of those at the Magical Kingdom this time? Were there any accidental, oops, I bumped into that again?
Or was it just a kingdom this time?
I wish I'd never told you this story, because you know how the stories evolve, and the fact you never let the truth away of a good one. And
we're so glad you did, though.
There were no notable incidents involving any cast member at all for the entire period of time we were there in any of the parks.
No. They had you under a restraining order then?
No. Well, they wouldn't actually let me close enough to be honest. But I do kind of feel like you sort of got the story wrong. Literally, it was the first. I'd been gone 5 minutes, and you just literally making stuff up. So I didn't.
But Richard, honestly, wasn't our version a lot more fun? than the
Oh,
reality.
yeah, definitely, absolutely. I literally don't want to get in trouble.
Well, if you want to explain yourself, then my son, please feel free.
So it was. I got my. Imagine the situation where, like, people. I think a lot of people know that when you go to Disney, you have the opportunity where you can queue up for days at a time, just to meet one of the characters. So you can stand there for 2 days in a queue, getting dehydrated and sunstroke, just to meet Mickey Mouse and Donald and most of the characters.
Right.
But the big one for the little kids tends to be the princesses, and like in peak time they can be 2-3 hour waits. Now, when we first went, which was like 2.5 years ago now, it was April 2017. In fact, there's a couple of episodes. We did the episodes, didn't we, where I did it from the resort.
Yeah.
Sitting outside.
It's actually back at the library, yeah, and you can hear that story.
Yeah, you can go back and listen to that. It's probably there's probably a more up-to-date, accurate telling of this story. To be honest. But basically, my daughter wasn't able to go with us, and it was her birthday. One of the days we were out there. So on the day of her birthday, I went around queuing and meeting lots of Disney princesses, because my daughter at the time, she loved a load of the Disney princesses. Well, like when there were shows on and when there were fireworks on and during parade times, to kind of reduce the wait time so I could cram more princesses in, which is where the phrase of "I did 6 princesses in a day at Magic Kingdom" originates from. When we were over in Epcot, you get the opportunity, you can meet Anna and Elsa from Frozen over in the Norway part of Epcot. And so there's me, this 40-year-old guy on his own, queuing up to meet Disney princesses, if that's not awkward enough. And then you go in and you can meet them and interact with them, and you have your picture taken. And they did like these little videos, like, sorry, you can be with here, and hopefully you'll be able to come next time. And all that. That was the reason for it. Anyway, I'm standing there with Princess Elsa. She's like the ice queen, if you're not into Frozen. And I'm just stood there kind of talking to her, and she turned to face towards the photographer. And as she turned in her very accurate and well-fitted costume, part of her kind of met with part of just my arm. It was nothing too bad, but it was amusing because there was that pause of like a nanosecond where we both realized what had happened, but nobody mentioned it. There was no sort of kind of no, nothing like that. It was just this nanosecond awkward moment, nobody saying anything. And then when you look at the photograph, she stood like literally next to me, like shoulder to shoulder, rather than like taking a lot of them. They'll take your arm and have the photograph taken like regally and all the rest of it.
So you're now claiming it was just a brush of the arm.
It was totally
as opposed to
my arm that was the
as opposed to a full cop of a feel. Okay, all right.
It definitely was not a full cop of a feel. That would, be like method 32 to get thrown out of Disneyland, but I'm sure. But no, that definitely did not happen. I'm not some kind of
I know
weirdo that goes around.
I think you deserved. I just thought you deserved equal time. I just don't think anybody believes you.
Like they say, never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
But you did just get back from a great trip. You've been gone for 3 weeks, my friend.
Yeah, we weren't there for 3 weeks though. We went on the Saturday before the show. Though I wasn't here, and we got back really, really late. In fact, really early on the Sunday of last week. And because of the timing and the time zones and all the rest of it, literally been traveling for all that time, just got in and went boom, and crashed. So I was not in any fit state to do anything on Monday morning when I got off for work. But
so, I mean, not that anybody wants actually we do. I mean, I do anyway. I want to know about your travel adventures. And I don't mean the particulars about going through customs at the freaking Heathrow, but I mean, how was the trip? I mean, because a lot of people, I'm going to assume that maybe listening and or watching, have never traveled from the UK to the United States and gone to Disney World. And so they might be interested in how your trip went. I mean, what was it fun? Was it worth it? Would you? I mean, obviously, would you do it again? Is a stupid question because you did it already once before. But did you have a good time?
So,
I guess is the important
absolutely.
question.
I mean, the thing that I personally love about Disney is it's not about theme parks. It's not. Well, it is theme parks, but it's not.
It is.
If you don't like roller coasters, it doesn't matter. If you don't like Disney princesses and all these kind of your kind of traditional Disney films, it doesn't matter. There's literally something for everybody. And when I say everybody, there were people in mobility scooters because they're long days. You walk a long way. You just go for the exercise if nothing else. We were averaging like 23,000 steps by tea time. And they were 14-hour days on your feet, constantly moving. There were people there with service dogs, literally, and there were service dogs, like Bamba kind of guide dogs, going on roller coasters with people.
Really?
Just let that sink in for a moment. People were going on roller coasters with guide dogs and with service dogs. Like,
that's awesome.
Seriously. So there's literally something for everybody of all ages. I mean, you quite frequently see families spanning 3+ generations and couples, and there's something for everybody. So it's fun. The weather's good as well generally, which also helps. But I like looking at all the stuff. Yes, I enjoy the roller coasters, but the thing with Disney is that maybe a lot of people don't realize is Disney kind of, to my mind, cut their teeth in movies and in film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not just like the animated stuff, but generally. So they know film sets, they know production, they know how to make a 5-story building appear to be a 3-story building and vice versa at a couple of 100 meters.
Yeah. So
when you get up close to it, you realize that the door you're about to walk in is like 12 foot tall.
Right.
And that's what I like. So I kind of like to strip away the candy floss and the toffee apples.
As a maker, as somebody who walks into a place, because I will walk into a restaurant, and the first thing I will notice is the craftsmanship of the woodwork that might be in. I mean, it's one of those kind of things where you're there and it's awesome. But then all of a sudden, your mind automatically gravitates to, how do they do this? This is kind of cool. I want to figure out what this is all about. And it's like if you've ever been to Disney and you've walked up to Cinderella's castle, it's an impressive look from far away. But when you get up to it, it's like, how good actually is this workmanship? And you start looking at things that are going, and it's not really. It's a lot of the Andy Berkey thing. When he talks about churches, he talks about how you make things that really are impressive for the distance that they're going to be seen at. And then you don't really worry about the up-close magnifying glass type of inspection. You worry about the impression overall that it's going to give you. And Disney does a really good job of that. I'll give you that.
Because like I say, I mean, they're in the movie business,
right?
So they know how to trick people. They know how to hide things. I was chatting to a guy. Right. There's a thing at Disney where you do what's called pin trading. Mm-hmm. So they have like these metal pins. So you might have one for the rides, one for the resorts. There's millions. And I know I don't exaggerate that. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of different kinds of pins, and people just trade them left, right, and centre. All the cast members wear a lanyard or like a little bag with these pins on, and you can buy a pin in the shop, and then you can swap it for whatever. And some people get really into this, like hardcore collectors. I was chatting to this one guy who happened to be a cast member, and he was telling me about all these little tricks, how they hide things. So. You'll know this, Chris. Jamie might have noticed them. Those big kind of fire hydrants, not like the stereotypical ones you see on the street corners that are red. I mean, like the ones that are like a T shape, and then you can plug like 4 massive hose pipes to connect all these hose pipes.
Sure,
they're big old chunks of metal with valves and levers and stuff on them, and you don't see them. They're all there, but you never see them because they're all painted this special green. that they call go away green that just blends it all in. It's all camouflaged in with something else.
Oh, you can walk right by it and never see it. Yeah.
When you wander around, like looking at all these different things, there's speakers in the ground, like with sound effects for the bit where you are, and they're all kind of stashed under bushes and painted green and camouflaged. And it's like, are they in the movie business or are they in like the army? Because it's that well hidden stuff.
Yeah,
stashed away, and I love all that.
Well, so do I. But my wife calls me a geek so often when I get into an environment like that, because I will walk around an environment like that and I will notice those things like you, Richard, because it gets to the point where I start looking for them. I'm like, it's almost like one of those hideaway puzzles things. Like, can you find this element in this picture? It's like I automatically get attuned to looking for that kind of stuff. And then when I discover something, I kind of go, oh, you know, I get this eureka moment. Hey, and I'll hit my wife. Hey, honey, look, and she'll go, you're such a geek. Why do you even, care? I'm like, no, but that's really cool. Then she's like, oh, come on, I'm hungry. It's a lot
of people come back to places like that, and they've got the kind of the must-have picture of everyone on Main Street with the castle behind.
I don't care about that.
Blue sky. I've got dozens of photos on my phone of like packing crates and things.
Photo bombing.
Well, that's another sport. That's a good sport with the roller coaster. So like the bit on the ride where you have the big drop and everyone goes, ah! And they take a picture. So a lot of the rides you can do as a single rider. So if the car that you go around in is geared up for multiples of two, like groups of 2s and 4s and things like, when they've got like 3 in a family, you can go on as a single rider, so they haven't got empty seats. And then when they take the photograph, so we did quite a few of the where the rides that we enjoy, we know exactly where the picture's going to be. So you're sitting in this car that's literally just accelerated off into the darkness and lights flashing. Everyone, all these mums and little kids are like, ugh, and you're sat there like, and then so these 3 people terrified, and you're just like, one of them like, with a book or with the park map or something in your hand.
Hey, you've just totally ruined their picture too.
Yeah, but you get a copy of it as well, which is kind of amusing.
Well, but you've totally photobombed theirs. That's funny.
Yeah. So, Dave the wood barber has asked about the Esther, because you specifically asked about traveling to the States, and I don't know about Jamie. You'll be able to answer this one as well. Dave's asking, was the Esther hard to get?
Yes,
presumably, Jamie,
no, it wasn't. Now, the thing about the Esther is there's a lot of companies out there that are frauds.
Well, Jimmy, before you go on, just because I don't even know what you're talking about, what is the Esther? I mean,
the Esther is like a visa.
Okay.
For the UK to visit the States.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I get it. I just didn't know what that was.
So yeah, there's a lot of companies out there that are like frauds. For example, now they actually caught me out a little while ago in 2017. I want to know before that, when I was 30, they caught me out. So I went and bought a visa when I went to go to Boston, and I think I paid something like £50-something for it. And then I went to the travel agents and they said, no, this is the website you want to go to. And they told me that this is what happens basically it looks like a genuine website where you would get your visa from or your ESTA. And they tell you to print off said paperwork, but it's not an official document.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, and I think it should come to about £17, something like that, something around that sort of area.
Kat sorted all that stuff out, like everything.
I have. If Dave needs it, I've got the actual website because I've saved it. But yeah, so you've got to be really, really careful. If anyone has any concerns, go to your local. if anyone has any what do you call it? Go to your travel agents.
Well, that I mean,
so
that kind of sucks. I mean, isn't there like a? Well, hey, I don't know. You guys know better than I am, so I'm not going to espouse. Well, I mean, and that's just a travel visa. I mean, wouldn't you ordinarily just get that from the government?
Yeah, so it is a government visa, and presumably the site's like ester.gov.us or whatever it is. But
yes,
there's certain countries that we're buddies with, or that you're buddies with. So it's a little bit easier. So if you come from, I don't know, say you wanted to go on holiday to the US from North Korea,
right?
It would probably be a little bit more difficult to get through customs than if you came from Canada or the UK.
Oh yeah, okay,
Canada
that makes I get that.
And, yeah, we're buddies.
But I'm
so it's like
I'm thinking
Britain
to US shouldn't be that difficult. I mean, no,
it's not at all. But you could leave North Korea and then get your way into the UK and then go from the UK.
I got it. It's kind of like the back door that people used to use for the US to get into Cuba, because I mean, back in the day, the United States. Back in the day, the United States had an embargo, or they had U.S. citizens were not allowed to go to Cuba, but you could, as an American citizen, fly into Bermuda, get a travel visa from Bermuda, and then end up in Cuba if you actually really wanted. I get you. Okay.
So basically, what you've got to do is I think you're talking to who's your customs people? It's not TSA. It's your immigration people.
Yeah.
Like whoever they are, like US immigration.
Yeah, exactly.
You go to them and get your visa, and they go, "Where do you live?" And you say, "Oh, in the UK." And so you can get this ESTA. But if you live in other countries, you have to get like a different sort of visa, which is more expensive, takes a lot longer. They do background checks and all the rest of it. But because we're all like buddies, they're like, "Yeah, all right, you can come in. It'll cost you this much." And it's nice and quick. Literally, it's done. You like on the keyboard, send. And 2 minutes later, you've got the email going, "Yeah, welcome aboard. We'll see you in 2 weeks or whatever."
Well, I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to get too far into it, but I mean, how can somebody in the UK be defrauded with an Ester? Then, I mean, if you're not going through proper channels, it almost seems like it would be impossible. I mean,
yeah, but what Jamie's saying is you could go to www.getyourfakeesterhere.com. And they'll ask you the same questions. Where do you live? What's your passport? When you travel and make it look all official.
So it's an internet fraud thing. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, exactly. So and there's a lot of them.
Wow. Okay. So they just take your money and you end up with nothing. Got you. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So the one that I'm looking at, or the official one, is it's $14 per application. All right, so Dave, if you need it, I'll shoot the link over to you if you haven't got it already.
And Dave, I'm glad we spent this amount of time helping you out.
And so's Dave. We'd like to help you on this.
But knock on wood, somebody else will be wondering the same damn thing. But for anybody in the U.S. looking to go to the UK, it's really not that hard. Just get a passport, and you'll be good to go. And if you don't have a passport in your hand, then guess what? You won't be good to go. So it's just not that difficult. Anyway, speaking of passports,
you're gonna need your passport soon, Chris. And also go to
I already have mine.
Visa website for coming to the UK, and I could do you a Maker Central visa for $480.
Right. Just send it to www.richardmorleypaypal.com. I actually already have my visa and my passport. Thank you, Richard. But
there's a special avoid Dave the Woodbarber visa for an extra $10 as well.
In case our friends who may be listening today, and I'm going to interrupt this to get back on track somehow. In case any of our friends who might be listening to this or watching us today are not aware and have been living under a rock, this past week, Nick Zametti had messaged the podcast here and spoken with Richard and Jamie and I and said don't say anything yet, but tomorrow we're going to announce. And so we didn't say anything yet. And then the next day he announced Maker Central 2020 is going to happen. And so if you were wondering if it was going to go on, the answer now is yes. And we can actually give you the dates. The dates, it's going to be in the same place. It's going to take place at the NEC in Birmingham. I hope I said that right. It's Birmingham.
I was just going to say, well done, Chris, because you said Birmingham.
It's Birmingham. It's not Birmingham. It's Birmingham. And it happens next year, May 2nd and May 3rd. So I am extremely excited about this. And I honestly hope that the fever that this event has, brought up in the past does not diminish. This is going to be the third year in a row that Maker Central has happened, and I'm extremely excited and looking forward to going myself again this year. I missed last year. I went the first year, but I'm hopefully going to make it in 2020. So if you're not aware, it's going to happen. And if anybody has any questions about it because they haven't been yet, then ask them now, because Richard and Jamie have been to both Maker Central 1 and 2. And then cool. I've been to 1. So, we can probably answer a few things if you guys are interested. All right, Jamie has his hand up. Yes, Jamie.
Will you be avoiding Dave the Wood Barber this year?
No. Yes, I will. I will absolutely intentionally snub Dave the Wood Barber just because it would be wrong if I didn't at this point. That is so wrong that you even brought that up, and I don't even remember that happening.
Oh, this is probably when you're talking about dates and stuff. Kat's just reminded me. We were talking about this before. Anyone going to Maker Central from the UK, it is not Maybank holiday weekend. Monday after Maker Central is not a public holiday this year. They've messed it all up because Friday after Maker Central, it's something to do with VE Day celebration, so the Friday, and then the Maybank holiday is the following Monday. So it's not the 4th of May, as a lot of people are probably assuming. So if you're planning to go to Maker Central and still hang around on the Sunday night,
the next day is going to be a work day.
Work off, yeah. So we may well be not doing the podcast on the Sunday night because I'll have to come back because Kat will be coming back for work and Dirk's Works will be coming back for school from the Monday, and it might just
it
can be planned around, but it might mess people around if they're not prepared for it. So it's worth mentioning that.
That sucks.
So yeah. It could be an issue. So plan for it now and sort it out that way.
Well, I still have my laptop with me anyway, Chris.
Hey, you know what? Maybe we miss a week. I think we're entitled. Whatever.
Yeah. When the woodturner says he doesn't care because he's retired, Jamie said exactly the same thing because he's unemployable.
Well,
and Chris is retired as well.
Well, I'm retired, but I'll be there on vacation. So frankly, I don't care. It's just that it just that kind of sucks for you folks because it was easy for people to stick around on Sunday when they didn't have the following day to work. Yeah. Man, I'm sorry that happened, but whatever. Anyway,
it's not do or die kind of situation. It's just like people might have just gone and not thought about it any deeper than that.
I get it, but just some info for some folks who may not have ever been. I think I can tell you that the Hilton Metropole is the hotel at the NEC where a lot of people stay. You don't have to stay there. It doesn't matter if you do or not, but that's where a lot of things happen after the show ends. So if you're looking to hang out and just be in the informal atmosphere and not walking around Maker Central and you just kind of want to get into the community thing and sit down and have some drinks with some folks, the Hilton Metropole is normally where that happens. And whether you stay there or not really doesn't matter because, trust me, the Hilton will allow you to walk in their door and spend your money at their bar. They really aren't that particular about where you come from when it comes to you spending your money. So if you're looking for a communal place in the evening after the show is over with to hang out, that I think, and I could be wrong, and you guys correct me, but that is typically where most people hang out after the show is over with. So if you want to, commune and hobnob, that would be the place to go.
Totally. I mean,
Dale from Maple Tree Studio says alcohol poisoning is a thing, Claire. What he fails to know is Claire, Chris from the Susie's dad is a paramedic, so he will also be there. So it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm gonna begrudgingly give that an okay, but yeah, maybe not so much. But
one of the comments that I've heard quite a few times about Maker Central is it's not cheap, and
it's not cheap. No, it's not.
It costs what it costs. It costs probably more for Chris to come, 4,500 miles across the Atlantic than it does Kat and I to go an hour up the road.
Yes.
But the hotels, 3 nights in the hotels, the meals, the drinks, buying all the toys that people, a lot of people buy at the show, they're a very real expense. Like Chris has already said, you don't have to be staying at the Hilton. There's a travel lodge, and I think there's a Premier Inn as well.
Yep.
There's loads of different hotels all around the NECs.
You can even stay, like you said, you can stay in a campground, and because at that time of year, it's not a bad time to. I mean, May is not a bad time to be in that atmosphere in the UK. At least when I was there, it didn't seem like it would be a problem to be, sleeping in a tent if you would like. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like there are a lot of people that do stay at the Hilton, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to. So if price is a problem, there are ways around that and still become involved in what's going on. And I totally understand that. And look, I'm not made out of money either, and it does cost me quite a bit of change to come over there and go to this event. But I'm actually, that's money well spent in my book. I mean, I'm happy to come over and do it because it's a fantastic event. I'm willing to spend the money, but if you don't have it, you can't spend it, right? So, don't worry about it. There are alternatives.
Both previous years, Kat and I stayed in a campsite down the road, and everyone just assumed that we were staying at the Hilton because we were still there at 3 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, I wasn't drinking because we had to drive a couple of miles up the road to the same. So there are loads of alternatives.
Richard, the police are not listening. It's okay.
No, I'm not a big drinker anyway, as a lot of you know. But excuse me. This year just gone. Kat and I, the first night we got there early, set up all the stuff for the Maker stand, all the rest of it. We then, instead of having tea at £45 or whatever, I think it was about 20 quid a person to eat, we went to McDonald's up the road, jumped in the car, because a lot of people in the UK that are driving down there, jump in your car. It's like 10 minutes down the road, there's a McDonald's and all the rest of it. So you can do that sort of stuff as well. Club together.
Well, it would be interesting to know how people manage to make this work for themselves, because I mean, we all come from different affluences, I suppose, and it's just, hey, you know what, if there's a will, there's a way. You can always find a way. And I haven't even booked my room yet, but I planned on doing so. Jamie, Richard, Richard, I know that you're probably not going to book your room at the Hilton. Jamie, I know you probably will. Have you already booked your room?
Yeah.
Do you already have a roommate?
Yeah.
See, once again, left out in the cold. Okay.
Gotta be quick, Chris. Boom.
Well, I knew that Jamie would whore himself out in a hurry, but I didn't know. All right, so I will be booking a room, and so if anybody's interested in bunking with me and help sharing expenses, I would be interested in doing that. So we can actually both save some money if you would like to do that. So I'm going to use this time to make a public appeal to come sleep with me.
Does bunking mean something else in the USA?
No, it means one person sleeps in one bed, one person. It's a matter. Nobody likes you, Jamie. Nobody.
Jamie, don't worry.
Nobody. Well, let's put it this way.
Just like aluminium.
I no longer like you. Let's put it that way.
Do you know what? I think I posted this. You reminded me, actually, Jamie, with the whole aluminium thing. Chris, I kind of owe you and your compatriot kind of upstart, turncoat, unfaithful,
traitorous
compatriots in your little country a bit of an apology, just a bit though, only a small one, because we're always giving you hassle for obviously the size of your workshop, which goes without saying, but also the fact that you can't spell aluminium. Now, you did pronounce it correctly for the way that you can't spell it. The fact that you can't spell colour, we wouldn't expect you to get the individual colours right, like grey, for instance, and all those sorts of things. But you do pronounce the word strawberries correctly. And that hit me like a sledgehammer whilst I was away, because I went into an ice cream parlour and I wanted some strawberry ice cream. And the woman just looked at me blankly, like, do you mean a strawberry? I was like, yeah, strawberries. And he suddenly realised that I've been saying it differently. I don't want to use the word wrong, but you guys say strawberries, don't you?
Yes.
Spelt and presumably pronounced, but we don't. We just say strawberry. Brie.
Strawberry. No, yeah. It's strawberry.
Yeah,
strawberry.
Well, it is. That's like, when you look at it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's actually the right way to say it, isn't it? Because it's a strawberry.
Yeah.
You put the bits individually, and it's straw and berry, not straw.
Richard, I have to be honest with you. I am not going to go to sleep tonight feeling better about myself because of that. It's just such a, and the fact that you said it was a little thing, really, it just makes it sound like it was a bigger thing than what you just said. I mean, that was like it that mattered to me at an atomic level. Okay, that was like,
but it's the gesture.
That was no love at all. Whatever.
It's a little bit. It was kind of a small gesture in the hope that it.
Hey, I said Birmingham right.
Validates our
give me some freaking. Oh my God, these people. Arrogant son of a bitches. Son of a bitch.
If it helps, you can have a raspberry as well, because you said that.
Yeah, a raspberry.
Yeah,
it's.
You still got no idea what jelly and jam are, but you know you've got to.
Yeah, but they can have preserves.
There's a kind of hush all over the world tonight. Anyway. Wow.
I forgot where we were then. What were we talking? We were talking about Maker Central, weren't we?
We were, and we're happy to have that happening again. But I'm sure we will have plenty to talk about in the future, because I'm sure there's going to be many events that are going to be popping up that people will be doing, and things that will be happening. Obviously, we're not going to be doing a podcast if it happens this year, just because Richard's not going to be there to do it, because he's got to drive back.
But then you say that, depending on when we leave and how things pan out, I might be able to do it from if I come back to Cats, which I probably will on the Sunday night. If the timing's correct, you guys could do it from the lobby as per normal, and then I might be able to kind of jump in and...
I don't know. It's just not the same.
We've got months to plan for this. This is the other good thing, is we've got plenty of notice. It's good 6 and a bit months for people to work out.
I know, but I don't. I'll talk to Jamie about it, but I don't know how I feel about sitting there with Jamie in front of a bunch of people trying to do a podcast. I mean,
it's Jamie really for that amount of time.
Well, look at Jamie. Look at Jamie. Jamie's like, what am I in?
I've been doing it for the past 4 years.
Chris.
I'm sorry.
I've got to get it right.
Jamie, I apologize.
Jamie, close your ears a minute, Jamie. Don't tell Jamie we could not do it, and then he loses his 100% record. Just like
could do that.
That would work. That'd shut him up if nothing else.
I did not mean it like that, my friend. But okay, but now that you brought that up, that is rather freaking funny.
It's luckily I'm not easily offended, isn't it?
Well, anyway. Anyway, that regardless of whether that happens or not, I mean, that's not going to be like the highlight of anybody's freaking trip to watch us do a podcast. But It would be fun for us to do. I mean, and you know, it gives some of the drunk bastards that are around the bar at that point in time a chance to friggin' laugh at us. But you know, other than that, I mean, there won't be much missing if we don't do it. So it's not that big of a deal. But there is a few other things that are going on, boys, because we have plenty of time to talk about Maker Central, because that's not happening until May of next year. Jamie, you had mentioned earlier that we might want to bring up, and how much time do we have? We've got 20 minutes left.
Loads of time.
We've got plenty of time. And there has been a change, and this is primarily, I guess, directed to people that are in the YouTube community, because it actually affects the YouTube community when it comes to changes that YouTube is making. In case you're not aware, YouTube has changed some of its policies. And Jamie, if you want to grab the bull by the horns and kind of explain to people what's going on, I'll let you do it. If you'd rather, I can kind of give my half-hearted attempt.
Well, I can kind of start it off. I mean, I'll be totally honest, I haven't done that much research. But it's basically that they're starting to crack down on what kind of videos are being aimed at kids and towards kids and what kids watch and that kind of stuff. I think YouTube got sued for something like $180 million because some child happened to accidentally watch a video or an advert or something like that. So they're kind of, every time we upload a video, we got to say whether or not it's aimed at kids or it's got suitable kids stuff in it or something like that or whatever.
I think and I think what they're saying is you have to clarify your intention for your video. Is this intended for kids to watch it, or is it not intended for kids to view?
Yeah,
I think is the hard line they've actually taken. But go ahead.
Well, it basically can affect people. Like, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and just name a couple of channels that you're probably going to be familiar with. It's going to affect people like Make It Soph, Claire's Crafty Corner, for argument's sake. The kind of crafty kind of channels, you know, the sort of things where kids want to do arts and crafts. You know, right. I mean, a child isn't all of a sudden randomly gonna walk around a corner, see a lathe, and think, "Oh, I'll have that," and all of a sudden pick up a bowl blank and then start turning. But they will pick up a glue gun and they will pick up a couple of scraps and make something. Do you know what I mean?
You know, we got a good question, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know the honest to God answer to this, but I can only assume the answer to this is what my assumption is. And so take that for what it's worth, because it doesn't mean it's accurate. The question was, is that something they're only doing in the US? And it's my impression from what YouTube put out.
No, it's not.
This is happening
across YouTube.
This is happening across YouTube worldwide.
Yeah. So even though it was started in the US, the people in the UK have still got to participate.
Yes. Okay.
Essentially, it's if you're operating on YouTube.
Basically, it's a systemic freaking policy. It's like, if you're on YouTube, this applies to you. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Jamie. Sorry.
Claire's Crafty Corner says she's going to start every video with a bottle of wine and a blade.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard quite a lot of chatter about this in videos. Some woodworkers have been putting out videos. YouTube's obviously put their video out. A lot of the kind of be a success on YouTube, how to be a bazillionaire and get 1 billion subscribers in less than a minute channels on how to be a YouTuber, YouTube channels. They've been putting a lot about this as well, and understandably, because it's an important topic for anyone that's putting stuff on YouTube. But from what I've heard and what I've read and what I've seen and what limited research I've done, it seems to me that people are overthinking it.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you.
I mean, I genuinely think that this is going to annoy a lot of people, and I don't mean to annoy people. This is just my opinion, which could be wrong. I think it's a good thing. I think the reason they're doing it is for the right reasons. It might not be the best implementation of that, But what happened with the adverts? What happened with the matey boy going in the woods with the guy hanging from the tree? I can't remember the specifics of it, but you get the idea of that video. All of the things that happened after those events, they might have been knee-jerk reactions. They might not have been the best solution, but they were a solution put in place at the time. It was firefighting, and I totally get that. We all had videos demonetized because of that thing they were doing where they were just demonetizing everything, and you had to kind of go, no, it's fine. That's what's going to happen, and that's probably what's always going to happen when you get these things. But the purpose of it, I think, is for the right reasons. But I don't think it's going to affect a woodworking channel, like Jamie said.
No, it's like the reason why. And I told, we were off before we went on today. I was talking with Jamie about this. The reason why I really have a hard time giving a care to this is because that has never been my personal focus. I mean, I don't think anybody, Jamie, Richard, you. I mean, I don't put videos out intended for kids. Now, I can understand how, for instance, some of the videos I've done in the past when I was making toys for kids for Christmas, how that could be somehow interpreted as being put forth for kids' attention when it was never that point. That was never the intention of that video. What YouTube is basically asking you to do is to go in on your video manager, and I can't remember the exact steps. If I could, I swear to God, I would tell them to you right now so you could do it as I spoke to you, but I don't remember them. But you go into Video Manager, and somewhere in your settings, you set your videos so that you say, none of my videos are intended for children. And if our community, because I believe our community, none of our community is actually intended to be, the kids' channels, that you just need to go in and set your channel to say, none of my videos are intended for children to watch, and you won't have anything to worry about. If you go in and set your channel to saying my videos are intended for children, then there are going to be consequences. And there are consequences that YouTube is implementing for people who do that for just children. And it has to do a lot with monetization. It has a lot to do with things that if you put out videos for kids, and that is your livelihood on YouTube, then it's going to affect you.
Yeah, they disable the chat and all that sort of stuff.
It is going to affect you, and it's going to affect your channel. So what they're basically saying is YouTube does not want to have the liability any longer that is associated with children. Is basically, I think, what they're saying here. And Richard, Jamie, you guys let me know if that interpretation of what they're doing is wrong. I mean, that's the impression I've got.
Yeah. So I mean, there's been a bit of chatter in here. Going back to what I was saying about the sort of the Nick Nimmin, the Tim Schmoyer type channels, and I'm looking down the chat at the names that are in there listening live. You guys probably know who these people are. A lot of the talk, when these guys are putting videos out talking about making money through YouTube,
right?
They pretty much almost always say that the AdSense side of your business model is probably the least amount of money you're getting.
Right.
Yeah. There are, t-shirt sales, sponsorship deals, courses, product selling. There's loads of other things that you can do as
Amazon affiliates.
Your channel, yeah?
as a revenue resource from your channel, right?
So everyone, just take a breath for a second and hear me out. If you are, let's say, and I'm not going to name names, but if your channel is doing simple paper crafting, encouraging for children, done in a kind of a setting where it's all very appealing to children, bright colors and those kind of TV, Blue Peter type shows, this is how you make Tracy Island, I think you would have problems arguing that wasn't for kids. But if you've got all those other revenue streams, if you haven't, there's something to look at for one thing. But if you've got those other revenue streams, then it's not as bad as it quite seems on the instance. There will be people going, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's probably the biggest argument against this that I've heard, is they're doing it the wrong way and it's going to result in good content leaving the platform and bad content for other people coming in and taking over. That might not be a bad thing for you either, because it could potentially be reducing your competition. So have YouTube, you could think of this as YouTube may have done you a favor, because if you're that person going, God, this is a nightmare, I've got to adapt to this. And Chris and I and Jamie, we've been on YouTube a long time now, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. YouTube's changed. You're always chasing after something, whether it's comments, statistics, tags, titles, thumbnails. I mean,
analytics, you name it. Yeah.
The first 4 years I was on YouTube, I didn't even know how to do a thumbnail. And I didn't care because it wasn't relevant. And then suddenly it was, and you have to learn it and get good at it. And that takes another 4 years while you're chasing after all these other things. So if you're putting videos on YouTube and you're taking it to the sort of severity where you're actually concerned about this, get used to changing and evolving constantly. Because if it's not this, it's going to be something else. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing or something to kind of get your knickers in.
No, I think the intentions that they have are probably good. And I think they're probably genuine. Like you mentioned, the implementation may not be the best, but I think the intention, and let's be honest, I'm not trying to give YouTube any love here, because they would not be doing this unless they were forced to do it. They would not. YouTube was forced to make this change. It's not something they decided to do out of the good of their heart. So let's be honest about that, okay? I mean, this is not YouTube standing up and being the moral authority, because that's just not happening. But the point is the reason why they're being forced to do it is probably not a bad reason. Whether their implementation is correct or not, I think that probably stands up to argument. But the idea that it's been said a million times, if you're putting all your eggs into this single basket that is YouTube, and you're trying to make that a living, then you are really putting your eggs in the wrong basket. You need to diversify that basket a heck of a lot more than YouTube, because your AdSense is not going to pay your bills. And as you've just seen YouTube do, they've almost shirked the AdSense away from a group of the community that you would call YouTubers. It's gone. Sorry, guys. It's no longer there. And so if you're putting your eggs into that basket thinking you're going to become rich and famous on YouTube because I'm doing this content and I'm getting all these views and I have all these subscribers, YouTube can pull that friggin' rug out from under you in a heartbeat, which is what they just did. So if that's your intention for your YouTube videos and your YouTube channel is to become a superstar and make tons of friggin' money, then you better diversify. And if this isn't a lesson, then I don't know what will be. And if you want to ignore it, then do so at your own, at your own fault. It's not, because I mean, and if when it comes to that, and if it happens to you, then look in the mirror, and that's who you should blame, because that's the honest to God truth. It's like, come on, guys, common sense makes sense here.
Yeah. So I mean, looking through who we've got in the show here, Claire's talking about a fellow YouTuber started uploading through the new beta, which presumably is the new. Anyone uploading videos moving forward on the upload screen, it actually now says this video is or isn't intended for children.
Exactly.
So if it is intended for children, or you mark it as intended for children, then you lose comments on the video, you lose your ads. What else? There's a few other things that you lose. Stories you lose on your channel, which, it's a bit of a pain, but
if you have a popular channel, or if you're able to develop a popular channel, there are ways to derive an income from a popular channel. And you should not worry about the YouTube AdSense at that point in time, because you have other alternatives.
There's another important aspect of this as well, is what do YouTube define as kids? Now,
I believe it's 13-year-olds and above.
Well, it's actually not. I think you'll find it actually is the below, who shouldn't be on YouTube anyway, I might add. And I'm assuming they're still there because my computer's locked and logged again.
No, it's fine. I thought it was
actually
13-year-olds.
But they're actually concerned with the pre-13-year-olds as well.
Okay.
So if you're 13, you can have a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
In the terms and conditions, you can be 13 years old and have a YouTube channel. So if the stuff that you're putting out is intended for people of your age and older, then I'd probably worth checking. And this is what YouTube are doing. You know, consult somebody who knows more than me. That's exactly what YouTube are saying. It should be okay. So if you're looking at videos where people are below that threshold, I think that's what they're concerning the kids side of it from. So,
well, that's probably the
Susie's
highest vulnerability. I hear you.
And also losing ads. What's the issue with that? Just turn the ads off. If it is for kids, teenagers, 13 to 17 in your analytics, then don't put ads on that video. You can keep the comments and you can still put the stuff out for everyone else.
Right.
Just because your video is not intended for kids, you can't control who's watching it. And it's how you present that. If you present it in a sort of a play school, Sesame Street-esque way,
right,
it would be quite difficult for you to argue, oh no, this is meant for retired people. Yeah. Whereas if you put it out with, blades and bottles, as Claire's already said, then that's you kind of hedging your bets. So I think there's a lot we can do to not panic. I think there's a lot of panic in the air, and I think people need to maybe take a breath and just.
Yeah, well, I mean, every time there's change, there's panic. So you just kind of let it. You got to let it subside.
Yeah, All right. You want to play in YouTube sandbox, you got to play by their rules, unfortunately.
Exactly. Well, if you guys are interested, do some research. If this is a topic that concerns you, if not, then hey, sorry, but it was fun to talk about it anyway. Mr. Page, I think it's time for you to, unfortunately, sing your song. If you have a song to sing for us today, do you?
Of course I do. You know I do.
Oh,
it's Jamie's Page. Once again, I'm going to be talking about the Maker Quilt. So far we've raised a little over £300, which is just shy of $400. So cheers. Well done and thank you, everybody. So if there's new people here that don't know what the Maker Quilt is, the podcast has teamed up with Kat from Hippie Noodle, which is Richard's better half, and much better half. And what she is doing is she is going to sew together lots of little squares to make a quilt. And then what's going to be happening is all the proceeds that we've raised with that is going to be going to the guide dogs. Now, how we're raising the money is each square costs £1 each. And so you go and buy a square for £1, and then with every square that you buy is one entry into winning that Maker Quilt. So if you buy one square at £1, that's one entry. You buy 5 squares, that's 5 entries into winning. Buy 10 squares, that's £10, that's 10 entries into winning, etc., etc. 100% of the proceeds go to the Guide Dogs UK. So yeah, there's that. Now, if you go to the website at makersinternationalpodcast.com, all the information for that will be on there under Maker Quilt. I know that there's 2 buttons on the website. One says donate and the other one says add to cart. So the donate button is basically you giving the podcast money to give to the guide dogs. That doesn't include purchasing any squares for the guide dogs or any entries into winning the quilt. However, if you click add to cart, what you do is there's a box next to it. You put in how many squares that you want, then you click add to cart, then you go to the cart, make your purchase, and it's all run through PayPal. So it's all fully secure, and then we'll do the drawing at the end of the month after it's all been tallied up. So yeah. All right. So that was that. And then we got my shout out. So my shout out is it's a ring maker called Patrick Adair Designs. Now he makes some very awesome custom rings from all sorts of stuff. His most recent ring that he made was made from resin and brain coral, and just like all the other rings that he makes, it came out pretty damn incredible. So yeah, Patrick Adair Designs.
Give him some love. Awesome. I don't have a shout out. I don't have a shout out this week, Richard. I'm afraid I came up lame. So if you have one, let's have it.
I do have one. I'm just trying to remember what it was and find the link that I've already sent you. But obviously, just so the people listening.
Let me see if I can refresh your memory. Then hold on.
I've got it here. I've managed to find it in front of me. I've actually shouted this guy out before because he is awesome. The channel is Young G.
There you go.
Young JE, and he makes some awesome hand planes in metal and in wood. And my brain has gone back to making hand planes in the last few weeks. So I'm not going to make any promises because that's always a bad idea. But it is my intention at some point to make a hand plane. I want a little block plane. So I've just been getting some little ideas about that. But he makes this beautiful hand plane. It's absolutely insane.
That was a rabbiting plane, wasn't it?
This particular one is it's an infill rabbiting plane or rebate plane. But he's made jack planes, he's made smoothing planes, block planes. He's made one with a skewed blade for shooting boards out of metal and wood. They're well worth a watch. This channel, really, really good.
Name of the channel again is Young G, as in Young Y, OUNG, and then J.
I get the impression he's either like a Chinese, Japanesey sort of part of the Asian part of the world, or possibly Hawaii, because I see a lot of American tools in the background. So I don't know whether the guy's from Hawaii or somewhere out that way. But he never says a word in any of his videos that I've seen.
Young G. Good. Awesome.
Yeah. Young as in the word, and then JE.
Fantastic. Well, Rich, it was nice to have you back, my friend.
Only because you didn't have to do quite so much.
Well,
that's fine.
We've just missed having you to pick on. That's all.
That's good enough for me. I was going to say edit point. Thank you, Chris. But whatever.
But welcome back anyway.
No, it's always fun coming back. So it's more fun leaving, but it's always fun coming back. Are we doing like a little kind of 5-minute after the show after party for people that are here that aren't because we're not on Patreon? Or
it's up to you guys. I mean, I have things to do, but I can hang for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on the people in the live chat. We'll let them decide for a second. But it's been good to be back, guys. It's a good, nice little chat this evening, and I'm assuming we can probably bring the kind of the YouTubey thing out a little bit down the road if we know a bit more about it, or people hear about it. It might be worth discussing. Cool. Okay. Well, brilliant. And it's good to be back. But now we've got to go. So if you are still with us, then thank you very much. Every question why, but thank you anyway. If you're not, we will say what we like about you. Until next week, when we're talking about something else that I don't know, you will take care.
Have a great week, everybody.
Take it easy, everyone.